Alright guys, this is TC Made with TC Game. I'm going to do a really quick ACF example how-to project for those of you who are just getting started with this. So already you have gone in and you've gotten your Ascent Combat framework installed to the engine. I'm using 4.25. You've downloaded the sample project after getting permission from PASC by submitting your proof of purchase receipt from the marketplace. And once you have that 425 file downloaded, I would recommend extracting that into a directory. In my case, I've done it to example, ACF example 425 how to. You're going to go into that project folder outside of the installer over here. You're going to go out to that and you're going to right click on the ACF example project and say launch game. It's going to tell you in most cases that you need to rebuild some files. Let's see if that happens. If it does, you want to make sure that you have the latest copy of Visual Studio installed and updated. So for example here, the following modules are missing. We're built with a different version example, and I would like to rebuild them. So you just let that go through the process. It's going to take a couple of seconds to get that all done. Once that gets done, it'll load the project and we'll come back to it right after that. Okay, after the project has been updated and everything, then you should be able to open this launch game. It may take you directly into it. I usually shut off all the VR stuff as it's loading, and it'll take you right into an example of the game running in most cases. So once that loads, kill these couple things here. You may have to hit F11 to get out of the full screen mode. You could run around here and check it out and see, if everything's working for you. But what I was going to recommend is just hitting F11, and then you're going to kill this by hitting Alt F4. That'll shut that down for you. Now, if you're going to install another character in here, what you would want to do is go into your installer and go into your library, find whatever character it is that you want to install. I'll put something like Paragon Greystone in here just for a quick example. I'm going to say add to project, and I want to pick my ACF example. The one that I have here, if you look at the path, says example 425 how to project. I'm going to highlight that and just say add to project. I'll come back when that's done. Okay, once your character's been installed to your project, you can go back up to your project file. Again, this is the how-to. I'm going to right-click this and say open. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and take care of any errors that we might have from the plugins or from things being moved around. It only takes a second to get this thing cleaned up. Okay, when we come into the project, I'm just going to dismiss the plugins. I'm going to update the project file. And from here, I'm going to hit play. Now I'm going to get a warning with this button. And all you have to do is click on the button and then hit cancel. And it's going to take you into where the blueprint failed to compile. And here you just go to the graph window and you're going to see that this section over here has an error in it. So what we're going to do is you're going to take from here, you right click and just say append. It's going to pull up a string append for you. And you're just going to reconnect this pin to the A. Rid of that. And then you want to come out of that A into the text string here. And then on this side from the count, you should be able to just go straight to, whoops, hold on. First you want to hit add a pin, sorry. And then you want to come out of the count and go straight into that C and let it create that for you. And then you can just delete these. You don't need them anymore. And hit compile and it should run. Save that. Go back out here and hit play. Everything should work for you. If you hit F11, you can go into full screen mode. You should be back where you were a second ago. W key to come over, E key to pick things up. If you hit the 1 key, it'll equip your sword. Left click to swing. 2 will drink potions if you have them in your inventory, or equipped rather. And 3 gives you a bow. If you right click, it's going to target. Left click will shoot arrows. Okay, we can do damage to the spider. Everything's good. I'm going to hit escape. Now, to get started with your own character, what you want to do, we brought in our Paragon Greystone character. And what you would do, if you don't see the plugin folders that are here, Go down to View Options, make sure you show plugin content. You may also have to enable Show Engine Content, even though it brings in all these additional folders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Paragon Greystone character, and I'm going to go to the Heroes file, Greystone, and I want to go down here to his Mesh folder and get his skeleton. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to go directly to the Retarget Manager. When I go to the Retarget Manager, I want to select a humanoid rig for him. Go to the Preview Scene Settings. Make sure that his preview mesh is assigned. I'm going to leave everything else here. His arms are pretty well straight out. He's in an A pose. You could double check all of his mapping for the files if you wanted to. Make sure that you show advanced and that these are all assigned to the correct spots on there. Make sure you hit save. You're going to go back out to your ACF example. ACF example, if you highlight this, has an ACF multiplayer and an ACF sample anim instance BP. This is the character that I'm going to be working with for this example. If we go to the blueprints, you're going to see an ACF sample player in the characters. So go to characters, ACF sample player. If you open this up, you're going to see a mesh identified here. Open up your viewport. Go to mesh, you'll see your character. Slide this out a little bit if you have to. You'll see your skeletal mesh identified here and also the animation blueprints that this character is using. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on this to locate that character, which is here. Right click on that and say skeleton, find skeleton. And this is going to take me down to where that character is actually located. This is in the Ascent Combat Framework content folder under the mesh directory. We're going to double left click on this, make sure that he's in a humanoid character, and he also has his A pose. We can leave him there. If your character's in a T pose, you can adjust the bones. Go to modify pose, use current pose, make sure you have a preview mesh assigned. What we want to do now is we want to go, since we have both of our characters in a similar pose, we are going to go back up to the ACF example. We're going to go to the ACF sample anim instance for that character. And to verify that that is the right one, again, you could go in here to your ACF example, blueprints, characters. You could find your sample here. Double left click on it. And again, if you look in the mesh, that is where it is located. You click the magnifying glass and it'll take you to that file. If I right click on this, retarget anim blueprints, and duplicate anim blueprints and retarget, I should see my skeleton for my similarly posed character that has the preview mesh on it. I'm going to change the directory. In this case, I'm just going to say in the root folder, doesn't really matter where, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this RT_anims. Just for me, that means that these are retargeted animations. I'm going to say OK and retarget. Now I'm going to get a little bit of an issue because of the poses for the characters, but we'll deal with that later if we have to. Once I've created this, I will have an RT_anims folder that is populated with all of the different things that need to be in here for this character. And I'm simply going to say save all, save selected, and that's going to continue to compile shaders in the background. And now what should happen is if I go to my blueprints again, back up to ACF example, blueprints, characters, for my ACF sample player BP, which is the default that's being loaded in the game settings out here. If I go to project settings, you'll see that under maps and modes, that is our default, is the ACF player and the sample player controllers and all that, or the ACF player controller. But that player character there is going to be the one that we're going to retarget. So if we go over to this, I use the one that's here under blueprint characters and get my ACF sample player BP. I'm going to open that up. Again, go back to this mesh, skeletal mesh, and I'm just going to simply type in the search box for Greystone. And my Greystone character now will also have access to the ACF sample animation, and there's two of those that are located in there because I didn't rename the one. You don't have to, but if you just highlight on that and click on it and your character doesn't animate, it means you need to get the next one down. So I go down and get the next one down. You can see he's now animated. I'm going to compile and save this. And if I were to go back out now and hit play, what we should see is my character from Greystone is in the game, but he's not doing anything with any of his clicking because we haven't assigned his animations yet. Okay, so what I want to do in this particular case is I want to go back into that sample player character. I'm going to go to his mesh. I'm going to go find his animation sample instance, which we know is located in the rt_anims folder. I'm going to open up that file and I'm going to go into the class defaults section. Under class defaults, we have ACF, and under ACF, we have common actions, moveset actions, and movesets. I'm going to go into each one of these elements, and I'm going to look for the animation montage. You see that this one says game RT anims use object, so that montage is playing. If I go back out here, we're going to see element 1, value. This has dodge. This one also has a retargeted animation on it, and we can see that that's working. I'm going to go down to the next element and the value for that, which is equip, and we should see that that also works on our character. I'm going to continue to go down through each of these elements and values and make sure that as I hover over this, it says game RT anims for each one of these. Element 4 value, same thing. Element 5 value, same thing. Element 6, most of these for the ones that are common should have been retargeted and relocated, no problem, because they're getting picked up from the character's animation blueprint instance. Go to element 7 value, and that one should be good as well. As we go into Moveset Actions, element 0 is going to have a animation montage in here. If you continue down through this, it's going to say sword attack. This has a sword attack on it. And we also want to go down to element 1, value, actions. Sorry, there should be keep going down through these drill downs. And there's the shoot one. And then for move sets, we want to go down element 0, value. And we have all these RT anims. There's our blend spaces, unarmed idols, AO blend space, so on and so forth. And just keep going down through and verify that everything that you've retargeted is now in your RT anims folder and matched up for whatever character it is that you've retargeted these to. These will all be found under values underneath of each of these different spots. And I'm going to go all the way down through here to the last ones. RTNM, RTNM, RTNM staff. So this should have retargeted all of the things that you needed and automatically assign them into the animation blueprint. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and compile. And I'm just waiting for these last little shaders to compile. We'll hit play one more time. And my character, if I go and pick up a sword, so if I go to the E key, I can go in here. Now you'll see there's one big problem, which is that his weapons are located at his knees. And if I can equip him now, he can swing. And if I switch over to the 3 key, he would pull his bow out and he can shoot arrows, but I have to just adjust his sockets. Not a big deal. We're going to hit escape. We're going to go back up to, back down to the mesh that was originally in here for the sample character. We're going to open this mesh up. We're going to go to the skeleton tree and we will locate 3 sockets: shield, left weapon, and bow hand. If we look at the details for this, we'll see that they are located under the bow name hand_L. I'm going to highlight shield, hit control, and select left weapon and bow hand, right click and say copy selected sockets. I am then going to go to the skeleton that is associated with my character, which for my example here is under the Paragon. So if I go character, meshes for my Paragon. Whoops, I'm in the wrong thing here. I'm going to go down to the Paragon Greystone mesh, open up the skeleton. I'm going to go to the skeleton tree, and we said that that was under our hand_R, I believe. Hand_L, actually. So go back to the Greystone skeleton, go to hand_L, locate that over here somewhere in the hierarchy. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say paste sockets to selected bone. This should bring over those 3 things And if you look at the details, you can verify that the relative locations and rotations are set up correctly. You're going to save this, go back, minimize, hit play, F11 one more time. I'm going to come out here and grab my weapons. And I still have to move a back socket. But what we want to see is that when we hit the equip button, that, no, I still have to move this couple sockets. We're going to go back to this, and we go back to our, we go back to our UE4 mannequin skeleton here, and he's going to have additional sockets down here somewhere for the single-hand weapon, crossbow, two-handed weapon, heavy weapon, arrow. He's got all these bow equip, shield equip, so there's a lot of stuff in here that has to be moved over, and you can do it the same exact way. These, under preview, or under details rather, these are all on spine 2. Looks like every one of them is on spine 2. There's spine 1. They're all on spine 1, and all these other ones that are jogged up are under spine 2. So I'm going to grab bow equip, down to staff equip, right click, copy selected sockets. We're looking for spine 2 on Greystone. Spine 2, right click, and say paste sockets to selected bone. Go back to our mannequin skeleton. We're going to grab these locations. These are all under spine 1. I'm going to right click and say copy selected sockets. Back to Greystone under spine 1. Right click, paste sockets to selected bone. I'm going to hit save, and I think, not 100% positive, but I believe anyway that that is pretty much everything that would be required for the equipping of items on that skeleton. So we hit save, we go back out, we're going to play one more time, F11, go back out, we're hitting the E key to pick things up. We can now see that our sword and shield, even though buried slightly underneath of his armor and everything, you see they are on his back. If I hit the left key, it will equip his sword, and that sword is in his hand, but it's overlapped by the other sword. And if I hit the 3 key, he should now have a bow in his hand, and I can shoot with that bow. Now I'm going to hit escape real quick. This is particular to the Paragon characters. If you go to the Greystone skeleton and you look where his weapon is, he has a sword here. In this case, it's called sword. Well, actually, just type it in here, SWORD. Will give you the sword top and bottom. So sword location, sword top and bottom. If I right click on this, I can say copy selected bone names. And what I want to do is go into the Acf Sample Player BP, because this is the character that I'm playing under with that particular thing. And in here, you will find somewhere an event begin play and a parent begin play. And what we want to do is just drag this out a little bit, highlight these two, move them over just a hair. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say hide bone by name, hide bone by name for the mesh. The mesh reference is already there. We're going to pull this down, and I'm going to leave space for another one under here because I have 2 bones that I have to hide. This one is going to now come down into here, and we're going to leave a space for this. The first bone is going to be sword bottom. If I go back to my Greystone skeleton, he also has the shield. I'm going to take this and replace this with the word shield. And if I go down to shield, I have an inner and outer. I'm going to select the inner and say copy selected bone names. I'm going to go back to the animation blueprint here, and I am going to create another hide bone by name for the mesh, and I am going to just basically delete this mesh reference here, and I'll just pull a pin off of this one to that same target. We're going to come out of the execution pin into that execution pin. We're going to replace this name and come over here into our bind event for on combat. If I compile and save, when I run this, what should happen is it should hide his default weapons that came with the character. They're gone now. And then when I pick up my other items and weapons, you can see that I have those. And now when I left click, well, his sword's equipped, but it's not actually in his hand. So I'm missing a socket still. Let's go back and we'll check. I thought it was equipped earlier because he had that other sword. Let's go back to the sample. Whoops, man, this is bouncing around. Let's go back to the mannequin skeleton and find out where that is. So that is in his sword. Maybe I missed I may have missed one of his bones there. Let's see. Single hand weapon attack. Oh, hand R. I don't think I pasted any of the hand R's in here. My apologies. So look at all the hand R's. And we're going to do the same thing. Highlight all these. I think they all said hand R. Let me double check. I'm moving around pretty quick here. So all of these are hand R. We're going to highlight them. Right click. Copy selected sockets. Go back to Greystone and look at hand R. And hand R should have... Yeah, we can just right click on this and say paste sockets to selected bone. Save. And go back out here and hit play. Go over here and hit the E key. And now I have the sword in his hand. And if these sockets don't line up the way that you want them to, of course you can modify that. I'm going to hit the E key to pick up some more things. And if I hit my 3 key, I should be able to pull my bow up and do some damage over here to these guys. If I hit them. And then that's going to bring them in. And if I get close enough to them, I can hit the T key, which is going to target them. I'll switch over to my sword and I'll take care of their... These guys are sometimes tough. Come over here. Where do you go? All right. So then I can go and pick up some more stuff. But that's basically a quick way to retarget a character into ACF and get your thing up and running pretty fast. Now, what I was trying to show you in this thing is as you retarget these things, now you have your character set up that if you want to make additional changes or add additional animations, all you have to do is go to this RT anim section. You go to your ACF Sample Anim instance for that character, and under the class defaults, here's where everything's located to make any changes to your animation. So if I wanted to change his sword attack, I would just go in here and go to his Moveset Actions for the single-handed sword, and under the sword attack section, if I had specific animations for that character, they would locate here under the asset browser, and I could pull those in and just make sure that I line everything up with my actions. And you can find all the information about how this stuff works by playing around with these or going into the animation or the documentation for ACF. So my name's TC Mabe. That gives you a real quick start. I'll do another video maybe to show you how to clean up some other things. And I know other people are working on tutorials to help support the community. Other information will be coming as everybody gets a chance to get it out to you. Hopefully this helps somebody get up and running pretty quick with this fantastic plugin that we call ACF, Ascent Combat Framework. Take care, and I'll see you soon.